Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming live from Sun City in Arizona on a super fantastic, sparkling, now rainy day. Yeah, it's been coming and going all day. There's been little showers here and there, but this time, and now she's going to play. She still has a toy that squeaks. Wow. Oh, yes, that's the forever squeak one. Okay, excuse the squeaking. Zeffy's found a squeaky toy. Yes, that's going to be going away soon. It's Tremendous Tuesday because I declared today was going to be that way, but it didn't turn out that way. Today is my 23rd wedding anniversary, and it's the fifth one, number 5, that Brad has not been physically present for. Spiritually, yes, he's definitely with me in spirit, but not here physically, which makes it a little tough. It's been a roller coaster day with emotions. And thank you to everybody that's posted on the memorial post I did today about our wedding anniversary. And there's a couple of them that definitely caused the sparkles of love to flow freely. But it was very therapeutic to be able to do that. So thank you to everybody who has posted on that. I think I checked it like lunchtime just before I got on at the chat, I think. But it's been a very busy day. Was working for one client, getting some stuff done. Then the system they used suddenly booted me out and wouldn't let me back in. It kept saying error, error, error. So I think the system might have been down for a bit. But then I went and cleared all the cache and cookies and still had trouble logging in, but then it eventually let me back in, so I was able to get back to work. I also got some genealogy done today too, which is awesome. Got an update out to the client, so that was cool as well. It was a quiet day on the chat today, but there seemed to be a theme. We always look at each day when we're on the chat and we're going, okay, what's the theme for today? And look through, what calls are we taking the most? Are we getting the most of, or we're seeing coming through? Is there a problem area that maybe we need to let the trainers know about so they can incorporate it into the training? And some days it's everybody wants to upload their contact list and having issues. Other days it's wanting to know how to set an automation. Other days it's trying to understand how the billing works on their account. So there's all sorts of different things that people we seem to have. Some days we have themes, some days it's just a hodgepodge of stuff, but that's okay. And somebody asked me today what I was going to do to celebrate tonight for our wedding anniversary. And I said, that's easy. I said, I'm watching Legally Blonde. And some of you are going to go, it's your wedding anniversary and you're going to watch Legally Blonde. So for those that don't know, the story behind the Legally Blonde movie is very simple. Brad's not a big chick flick. Was not a big chick flick person. He liked his sci-fi and his fantasy movies. So, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Star Wars, Star Trek. I got him hooked on Doctor Who. There was Battlestar Galactica. What else was in there? Just all those sci-fi type movies that he enjoyed. And he enjoyed some action movies as well. So he got to know that if I say I'm having a chick flick day, he got to know he only had to suffer through about an hour and a half of a chick flick movie. Then the rest of the movie were going to be action movies all day. Or I might have been doing a James Bond fest. He didn't mind James Bond. I got him hooked on those too. I was such a bad influence on him. But the thing with Legally Blonde is it was a movie we both really liked. It had some great lines in there. Just some great little moments here and there throughout the movie. And we watched it. I don't know how many times we have watched that movie. We could probably just about quote most of our favorite scenes. But there was one day he was flipping through the channels and saw it was on, so stopped to watch it. And it was towards the beginning. In fact, I think he got it as the opening credits were playing or something. He said, he's going to watch that. I'm sitting there reading. So he's in his recliner watching the movie. I'm sitting next to him in my recliner reading. All of a sudden he stops and goes, that's where we got married. I'm like, look up, I'm like, wait, what? And he pauses, rewinds the movie a little bit, and he goes, watch this. He says, isn't this where we got married? And he plays it. And it was the scene when Warner breaks up with Al. And sure enough, their table was sitting on the exact spot in the restaurant where we got married. And we got married in Il Cielo restaurant in Beverly Hills. It's a Northern Italian restaurant. It has phenomenal food. The food was outstanding. And when we went to do a taste of the menu, they were giving us both full plates of the meals. And we're like, can we just get one to share between us? And at the time, I was not a big salmon fan, but they brought out the salmon, and I was like, this is divine. It got me eating salmon, and I enjoy salmon now. But that was just amazing. And then the owner of the restaurant actually made our cake. And if you're on Facebook, go and look at my page for today, and you'll see a picture of our tall cake. But it was chocolate. It was a chocolate layered cake that had raspberry filling between it. Then they smeared the raspberry around the outside of the cake. Then they encased that in white chocolate and a white chocolate icing, and he decorated it with the fresh flowers that were in my bouquet. And I tell you, that cake, it's 23 years ago since that day happened. I can still taste that cake. I can actually still taste it, because the other thing was is that the top layer, they actually, because the bottom two layers went, but the top layer, the restaurant actually packed it for storage. So you could store it in the freezer till your first wedding anniversary or your firstborn, depending on which way you go with the top of the wedding cake. Some people believe the top of the wedding cake is used as the baby's cake when the first baby comes along. Other people believe you break it out on your first anniversary. So it was all packed up, professionally packed up and everything for storage in the thing. So the following year when we came back out to LA for our first wedding anniversary, we went and got the cake and let it thaw out. And then whoever we visited on that trip, we took the cake with us. And so we got several pieces that time. But it was so good. But that's why I'm watching Legally Blonde tonight, because that scene with Warner and Al when they break up is the exact same spot where we stood when we got married, is where their table is. So that was kind of cool to see that. And like I said, I don't know how many times we'd watched the movie prior to that we never picked it up. And all of a sudden with Brad one day, it just clicked with him. And so it kind of became our movie. But yeah, Il Cialo's. And then on our 5th wedding anniversary, we went back with Brad's best friend and his wife, and with Mike and Rhonda. And Rhonda was my helper that day, because we didn't have a bridal party. There was Brad and I, the boys were there, his 3 boys were there, and then Mike and Rhonda. Mike did the videoing for it, checked on the video camera for us, got it all set up and everything else. And Rhonda made sure, and I actually stayed at their place the night before the wedding. And then Rhonda took me to get my hair and makeup done, and then we went to the hotel where we had our room for the night, and got there to check in, and it had already been prepaid and everything. Got there to check in to find out we'd been upgraded to a junior suite. And so we get in there, there's a bedroom off to the side, bathroom off the thing, and then the living room area. And so she helped me get dressed and all of that, and then she got me over to the restaurant, which was like across the road and down a little bit from the restaurant. So the hotel and the restaurant were on the same street, almost opposite each other. There was just like half a block between them. And then she got me over to the restaurant, and then she kept me calm in this little tiny. So we get there before the guys do. We're standing in this pokey little restroom area. The restaurant, the actual main part of the restaurant was like an old Victorian house. It was really cool, and they converted it into a restaurant. And it had this cobblestone patio outside where they could actually open up the roof on it if they wanted to. But it was beautiful, and it was there was these 2 cherub fountains on the wall. We had the candelabras with 3 candles on each candelabra. It was all wrapped in ivy. It looked absolutely stunning. But we were in the restroom there, and there's like 2 stalls, this little area by the wash basin, and that was it. And I'm sort of like on edge. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm not sure how much was nerves and how much was excitement, and wanting to pace, but there was no room to pace, because with Rhonda and I standing in there was no more room for anybody to get in there. It was a tiny little restroom, and she'd go out, and the only time I got to pace was when she'd go out to check on things to see what was happening, what was going on. Had the guys arrived yet? And so I would take like 2 steps one way, 2 steps back, and that was it. But she did a great job, and then she came back and said, "Oh, the guys are here now." I'm like, "Yay!" So I peek out into the hallway to see if the coast was clear. And this is the hallway down the back leading out to the restrooms. And Brandon, the oldest one, walks around the corner, heading to the restaurant. And I was like, darn it. So they had to wait longer. And it felt like we were in there for hours. And I was starting to get a little like, I need to get out of this room. It's the feeling it's starting to close in on me. But we'd actually only been in there like 15 minutes. It felt like hours. And then we got to go out there, and the guys, Brad and his boys, were all standing there facing the wall. I would say shoulder to shoulder, but they weren't. They were all different heights. So they were standing side by side, all facing the wall. And I just remember going up and tapping Brad on the shoulder. And I don't even know what the looks were on the boys' faces. I just was looking at Brad, and there was so much love shining through his eyes and just on his face when he first saw me. I knew it was everything, we'd face, I knew in that moment that we were definitely going to be facing everything together, and we would have a good long life together. That was the perception I got, and just feeling that calmness come over you that everything was going to be okay. All that nervousness took off, the excitement started to settle down a little bit. And that's one thing Brad has always been able to ground me when I get in that high area where I'm just like floating around and shiny objects everywhere, and he would be the one that would bring me back down to ground and go, breathe. But it was such a special moment. And that's so that because that scene of Legally Blonde is in that movie and filmed exactly where we stood and got married, that became our movie. And we've always enjoyed it. We went and saw the musical for it, and we're not impressed. We were there in the Kennedy Center. We're up in one of the boxes up the top. We're sitting on the high chairs at the back of the box, and we were not impressed with the. I mean, the music was okay, the acting was okay. They had all the good lines were worked in, but it just didn't flow very well, and it was okay. Like I said, we weren't impressed with it. Other people raved about it, said it was fantastic and all that. We were not impressed. It was okay. It was a good night out. We did have a good night out. But yes, so back to our 5th wedding anniversary. When we were there for our 5th wedding anniversary, unbeknown to us, Mike and Rhonda had called ahead to let them know that we were coming back on our 5th wedding anniversary. And so our table was sitting on the spot where we got married, which also happened to be the same spot that Alan Warner sat at their table having dinner and doing the breakup scene. So, yeah, that was a special night. And they came, and Brad hates tiramisu. He hates anything coffee flavored. If there was coffee in it, he would not eat it. But this tiramisu, he would eat. It's the only tiramisu I had ever seen him eat. And they bring out this big, on our 5th wedding anniversary, they put out this big platter, and in the middle was a heart-shaped tiramisu, and it had "Happy 5th wedding anniversary, Brad and Helen" written on it. And it was just so sweet. And of course, they first came out before we even ordered dessert and start putting spoons around. We're like, but we haven't ordered dessert yet. Well, with the exception of Rhonda, because she ordered the souffle at the beginning of the meal. And that was really, really good. But, I have lots of fun memories of our anniversaries over the years and the different things that we did. And our 10th wedding anniversary was the year that Brad was diagnosed with, in the January, he'd been diagnosed with cancer. And when it came to December, we couldn't go anywhere at the time because of the treatments he was under and all of that sort of stuff. So that September 2009, we took our very first cruise, and that was also our 10th wedding anniversary cruise. So that's what we labeled, first cruise. It was our 10th wedding anniversary cruise. That was 9 months late, but that was okay. So we have lots of memories in that. So, what special occasions do you have in life? And, write them down. Write down those memories. What do you remember if you're married? What do you remember about your wedding day? What were some of the points that stood out the most to you? Talk about these things, because otherwise people in later life are going to come along your wedding pictures and go, oh yeah, that was your great grandmother and grandfather there getting married, and that was a cousin, and this was da da da. Talk about who was in your wedding party. Pull those photographs out and write the stories behind. Who are the people in the photographs? What, where, and when. What's the occasion? When was it? Where was it taken? Oh, and who are in the pictures? And write those down, and then start talking about some of the memories about the day. Because you get these, for my parents, for their 30th wedding anniversary, is it their 30th? Yeah, it was their 30th. We did a surprise party for them. And I had actually somehow managed to get photos of every house we had lived in from when they first got married. No, I didn't have the very first one because that was a flat that they had, like an apartment. But from the first house they owned all the way through to the current house that they were in, and I had them all blown up and on a board. We had they'd been away on a trip, and I had gone in and I knew where she kept her wedding pictures, so I went in and borrowed them and took them into work and got them all copied and some of them blown up. So we had a big display of all of that. And at the 30th, my great aunt, her dad's only sibling, came up along with her daughter, and the daughter was the one that was my mum and dad's flower girl for their wedding and stuff. So that was pretty cool. We had our, my mum's aunt there, and their flower girl was there, and there was a couple who'd been friends with my maternal grandparents for years. They were at my parents' they were at my parents' wedding. They were guests at the wedding, and they were looking a little, looking aged and tired and stuff. And I said, "Are you guys okay?" They said, "Yes." They said, "We saw Pam and Robert off at their wedding." Did she call him Robert or did she call him Bob? Can't remember. She said, "We saw them off at their wedding." She says, "We're not leaving until they've left." I went, "Okay." I said, "Well, they'll be leaving in about 30 minutes." And they're like, "Okay, thank you." I said, "But don't tell them that because they don't know." Because we'd actually arranged for a hotel for them down at Oriental Bay, which it's all the rooms have a harbour view. All the rooms have a harbour view. The hallway's at the back of the building, and all the rooms are at the front of the building. And my aunt and I had gone to check them in. So we got to the hotel first, got them all checked in, paid for the room, went up to the room to check that everything was okay because we had ordered baskets of fruit and stuff up there. And my aunt had been waiting years to get my parents back for stuffing my dad's youngest brother's, her husband, bag with frangipanis. And if you've never smelt frangipanis, they are a very fragrant flower. And her sister had brought them over from Rarotonga, and they had in the Cook Islands there, and they had made up all their bouquets with it. There were little sprays on each of the tables. All the boutonnieres were these frangipanis, and so there were still boxes of them left. And so my mum and dad were like shoving handfuls of frangipanis into my uncle's going away bag while they were in the bedroom getting changed. Meanwhile, my cousin and I are making this beautiful path that goes from the bedroom door out to the front door. We got blamed for it, and it was years later they found out it was actually my dad and his wife that did it, my dad and my mum. And so my Auntie Chris had come prepared. We had been via their house and picked up an overnight bag for them with their PJs in it, and she tied up my mother's nightgown into this big knot. She had sprinkled confetti all the way through the bag. She came prepared, this woman. And we zipped it all up. We left the bag in the room for them. And then we short sheeted the bed. And if you don't know what short sheeting is, it's taking either the bottom sheet or the top sheet and bringing it up. Actually, I think we did the bottom sheet. We did the bottom sheet. We brought it up and put it over top of the top sheet there, so that when they got in the bed, the foot of the bed was a little closer than they anticipated. And my mum was telling us a story the next day about how they were standing on the balcony at like 10 o'clock at night, or 11 o'clock at night, whatever time it was, shaking out their underwear for the next day over Oriental Bay, to get rid of all the confetti and everything else. And I said, what would have happened if you had dropped your underwear? She said, "I was sending your father down to get it if it happened." My dad said, "I wasn't going." So we had lots of great things, but we had a lot of fun and everything else. But think of memories and things. And so we created this great night for them. We had there were cousins that came in. One of the cousins that lived in the area says, "Oh," he says, "do you mind if I bring a guest?" I said, "Well, who are you bringing?" He says, "Well, this cousin's going to be in town." I says, "Absolutely." But we had a good night that night with my parents for their 30th. So, but anyway, I got to get out of here. I got a movie to go watch. I'm going to go watch Legally Blonde and then probably have an early night. So go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening. Actually, I got to figure out what I'm going to have for dinner as well. I haven't figured that out. I figured out the movie, but I didn't figure out anything else. Anyway, go have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will see you back here bright and early tomorrow morning for Winning Wednesday. Hey, Conera.